Hi everyone, my name is Keith Brooks and this is Brooks Channel. And for today's video, I'm going to be reading the second chapter to my second Outcasts novel. This will be picking up from where we left off last time, which started up the first story in the book. And it takes place the day after the first four main protagonists, Joey, Mitch, Jay, and Woody, all leave home to start their adventures together. For those who haven't seen that video, the recap is the four of them stop in a small town not far from where they used to live to get some gas for their car. But Mitch instead ends up leaving to go get some beer, which leads to him getting into an argument with a small-time bandit leader and having to run away from him. And it also leads to him meeting the fifth protagonist, Beth, for the first time. And this will be how she starts getting involved with the first four guys, and how they all end up in their first major battle together. So without further ado, let's open up the book and see how it goes down. And as always, just want to point out, this is only the first draft of the story, and some parts of it might need to get tweaked a bit in the future. But we're going to work with what I've got so far. So, let's get to reading. Chapter 2. Mitch looked back again to see Steele and the other guys struggling to get off one another. He then turned to start running again and saw the girl had already left. He then looked out to see her running down a corner. Mitch quickly ran the same direction to follow her. "Ah, get off me!" Steele yelled at his follower while pushing him off. "Go get the boys. Those little punks are gonna pay." "Got it, boss," the other guy said before running off to follow his boss's orders. Steele then ran the other way to chase after Mitch and Beth. Beth quickly ran down the street, not wanting to risk any trouble while fighting in the streets. It was then she noticed the boy from the alley running up to her. He caught up fast and was now running right beside her. "What is he doing?" Beth thought to herself in confusion. "Hey, that was pretty cool what you did back there," Mitch said to Beth as they continued running. "Who are you?" Beth asked him, feeling exasperated. "Name's Mitch," he said, introducing himself. "Great. Now please stop following me," Beth replied to him. "Look, those guys are going to be real pissed at you for that," Mitch began. "Me and my friends have a car by the gas station. We can give you a ride out of town." "You seriously think I'll just accept the ride from a bunch of strangers?" she asked. It was then she turned to see Steele running behind them, pulling a gun from his jacket. "Okay, lead the way," Beth said, as she and Mitch kept running, with Steele not far behind. Meanwhile, back at the gas station, the rest of the guys had finished getting gas for the car. Afterwards, they decided to gather some things for the road. Having parked by a store across the street, they got food, drinks, a med kit, and a few other essentials, and loaded them into the trunk. All three boys completely unaware of what was about to happen. "Hey, there's Mitch," Joey said as he pointed to Mitch running down the street with Beth beside him. "Who's that girl with him?" As he asked this, Mitch began frantically shouting to his friends. "Get in the car!" Mitch yelled as he approached the car, Jay looking at him in confusion. "Mitch, what the hell's wrong with you?" he asked before looking to see Steele running up to the corner, his gun already aiming at them. "Oh crap!" Jay shouted as he, Woody, and Joey quickly ducked behind the car. Beth quickly jumped over to take cover beside them, while Mitch jumped into the driver's seat. Just as he did, Steele opened fire on the car, emptying the entire mag as he shot the driver's window once, the door 3 times, the rearview mirror off, and finally popped the front left tire. "Oh, F!" Mitch yelled as he heard the tire pop. As the gunshots finally ended, he reached into the glove box to grab his own gun. He then looked up from the shattered window to see Steele about to reload. Mitch then shot the gun in his hand, making him drop it and the magazine. Steele then turned to run behind the corner, looking scared as he did. Alright, Mitch said to himself as he got out of the car. Mitch, what the F did you do? Jay yelled at him angrily. I'll explain later. Right now, I need you and Woody to help me deal with that guy. Ugh, Jay muttered in irritation. Let's just get it over with, Woody said, having gotten used to helping Mitch get out of these situations. Minus the shooting. Guys, Joey said nervously as he pointed down the street. Everyone looked over to see 10 guys dressed like steel standing by the corner. Most were armed with knives, baseball bats, and pipes, with one holding a gun. One in the back towered over all the others, looking strong and intimidating. The 4 boys and Beth all looked at them nervously as Steele walked behind them. All right, boys, Steele began with a smug grin on his face. Those little punks over there think they can mess with us. Rip 'em all apart! The whole gang immediately ran towards the group while screaming at the top of their lungs. Holy crap, Mitch said to himself under his breath. What do we do? Joey asked, looking the most scared. Everyone, cover your eyes, Woody said as he climbed up the top of the car. Right, Mitch said, knowing what he was about to do. What are they doing? Beth asked while looking at them in confusion. She then turned to see Joey and Jay covering their eyes. Although still not sure what was going on, Beth followed suit and covered her own eyes as well. While all this happened, Woody was already on top of the car. His hands were held out together as he channeled a white-colored magic into them. Then, just as the bandits were just a few yards away, he unleashed a brilliant light right in front of them. The whole crowd stopped in their tracks, completely blinded by the light. Some screamed out of shock, while others just groaned in frustration. The light died down after a brief moment, with Woody jumping off the car right after. Mitch then opened his eyes and as he pulled out his gun. If you can fight, help us out, Jay said to Beth while tapping her shoulder. Knowing there was no other way out now, Beth followed Jay to the front, ready to fight. Joey, not being much of a fighter himself, watched nervously from behind the car. As the battle began, one of the bandits pulled out a gun and started to aim at Jay. Before he could line the shot, Mitch shot at his gun just like with Steele's. As the bandit dropped his gun with a shocked yelp, Mitch ran up to him and punched him to the ground. Despite all the years he trained himself to handle a gun, Mitch was still reluctant to actually shoot someone. Regardless, he was still going to fight and continued on. Elsewhere, Beth was fighting another of the bandits, blocking and evading each of his blows until finally finding an opening to strike. After at most 1 minute, Beth delivered a hard kick to the bandit's head, knocking him down with a thud. Excuse me. All he could do was lay there groaning in pain. Right afterwards, Beth turned to see 2 bandits screaming as they were sent flying by a huge stream of water. She curiously looked over to see the stream coming from Woody's hands. Having never seen actual magic before, she was left awestruck at the sight. This, however, left her unaware of the bandit running up behind her with a pipe in his hand. Fortunately, before he could get close, Jay ran up and punched him hard enough to send him flying a few feet away. Beth turned around to see the bandit lying on the street in a daze. Her eyes widened in shock at the realization of what almost happened. Stay focused, Jay shouted at her before running back to the fight. Right, Beth said to herself as she shook her head. She then ran up to help Mitch, who was fighting 2 bandits at once. Right after this, Jay ran up and punched out a bandit that had just got back up. After making sure he stayed down, Jay turned to run off, only to see the biggest bandit towering over him. He was at least 2 feet taller, and possibly some kind of superhuman. Before Jay could react, the bandit grabbed him by his shirt and threw him across the street, crashing through a shop window before landing hard in the middle of it. Ugh, Jay groaned while getting back up. He looked around in a daze, trying to get his bearings back. After a moment, he realized where he was. A butcher shop, one with a steam tray filled with meat. Jay ran straight for it, knowing what he needed to do. As he did this, the big bandit walked to the broken window and looked inside. There, he saw Jay at the steam tray. He had one hand full of beef and the other filled with ham. He was hurriedly scarfing both down. The bandit leader just looked on for a moment before bursting out laughing. "Hey, check this out," the big bandit said to another of his crew. "The fat one stopped to stuff his face." They both looked at Jay while laughing hysterically, unaware of what Jay's real intention for this was. As Jay finished eating, his body took on a noticeable change. The protein from the meat quickly transferred to his muscles, making them bulge nearly twice in size. Though it would only last about 5 minutes, it was still Jay's favorite of his treat boost superhuman ability. Now, fully powered up, he made his move. While they were still laughing, Jay ran up to the big bandit and punched him hard in the gut. With a shocked "Ooh!" the bandit was sent flying, landing in the middle of the street. The other bandit stopped laughing and turned to see him on the ground gasping for breath. Before he could react, Jay ran up and punched him hard in the face, making him drop down with a hard thud. Jay just stood there and let out a low ha. Steele, who was watching the fight from around the corner, could not believe what he was seeing. The gang he spent so long building up was getting beat by 4 kids. Kids that could shoot water from their hands, had crazy kung fu moves, and could even punch out his ace superhuman. None of it felt real, like something out of a movie or a comic. Then, one of his men came stumbling over to him. "Boss, we gotta get out of here," the bandit said to Steele. "Those kids are monsters. We ain't got a chance." Steele grew angry at hearing such weakness from one of his own men. He then remembered something he had stored away. "Just shut up and follow me," Steele yelled, while grabbing the bandit's arm and dragging him to his car. The fight began to wind down, as most of the bandits were either knocked out or unable to get back up. Only 2 remained standing, looking on in disbelief of it all. Mitch, Jay, Woody, and Beth looked on, feeling triumphant in their soon-to-be victory. Joey looked from behind the car in awe of his friend's strength and power. Then, Mitch saw Steele approach from around the corner, with something that made his eyes widen in shock. It was, of all things, a rocket launcher. Steele had the rocket launcher loaded and ready to fire. The bandit he dragged with him had another rocket under each arm to reload. "Time to end this," Steele shouted as he aimed at Mitch and fired. Mitch just barely dodged the rocket as it whizzed past him, and instead it crashed through a pawn shop window, blowing up and destroying most of what was inside. All 5 kids looked on, frozen in fear. They wondered in silence how some random bandits got their hands on a rocket launcher of all things. They then saw as Steele, Slacky, started to load another rocket into it. Jay began running towards him, only for one of the remaining bandits standing between them with one of the dropped guns aimed at him. "Don't even try it," the bandit yelled as Jay stopped in his tracks. He stood there with an angry look at the bandit, who looked back at him with a smug face. Woody held out his hands to cast a spell at him before he heard someone behind him. "Don't move!" Another bandit shouted, holding the other dropped gun, pointing it at Woody's head. Mitch held up his own gun, but was unaware of what to do. If he shot one bandit, then the other would shoot his friend they were aiming at. If he didn't act, though, Steele would blast him or one of the others with a rocket. Beth felt equally helpless, being too far away from either bandit to strike. They all stood in place, fearing the worst. "All loaded up, boss," the bandit told Steele after loading the rocket. "All right. Now to end this," Steele said, aiming at Mitch again. He was about to fire. However, he heard something similar to his rockets being launched. He turned his head to see a red boxing glove flying towards him. Before he could process what he saw, the glove hit him hard in the face, causing an explosion that sent him flying several feet away while dropping the rocket launcher. The two gun-wielding bandits looked on in disbelief at what they had just seen. During this, Woody quickly turned around and blasted the first with his water stream, sending him flying a good distance. The second saw this and was about to shoot Jay, only for Mitch to fire first, shooting the bandit in the forehead. The man stood there motionless for a moment before his now lifeless body dropped to the ground. Steele then began to get back up, groaning in pain and confusion at what just happened to him. Before he could stand all the way up, Jay ran up to him and grabbed him by the collar. He then punched Steele hard in the face, breaking his nose. Jay then kneed him in the stomach, cracking one or two ribs. Finally, knowing Beth was behind him and ready to strike, Jay turned around to hurl Steele over toward her. Beth then launched a hard kick to Steele's face, cracking his jaw and making him drop down with a hard thud. With that final blow, the battle was over. The Steel Bandits, as they were called, were mostly unconscious on the ground, and one dead. Only one remained standing, who looked on in fear at the sight. He then turned and ran without a word. The group of teens looked on at the battlefield, their enemies all fallen around them. Joey walked over to the others and conjured a boxing glove hand to raise it in triumph. His friends smiled at him, while Beth looked at his trick mesmerized, all of them outwardly happy and emerging victorious. "Oh my God," one of the townspeople said, walking over. Most of the town had witnessed the battle, running a safe distance away when it began. They all looked to see the bandits that had been terrorizing them for months, now lying defeated on the street. "We're saved!" some shouted as they cheered on in happiness, all except the pawnshop owner, who looked on as the destroyed store in devastation. Yeah, not everyone gets a happy ending on this one. Yeah, and that's the second chapter. Yeah, sorry about some of those awkward pauses. Yeah, my handwriting's a little sloppy. Sometimes I have a little hard time reading it. But that was the story. Yep. How the 5 main protagonists end up winning their first major battle. And yeah, the next chapter, which we'll cover next week, will be the aftermath of that battle. Yeah, mostly them all celebrating and planning out their next move. And yeah, like I said, some of it may not have come out exactly how I wanted it to. Some of it may be a little awkward. But like I said, this is only the first draft. I'll tweak some other stuff in the future. Yeah, there are a few things I think could have been better. But it's basically how I wanted that part of the story to go. And overall, I think it turned out okay. Yeah, I probably could have explained a few things better too. But regardless of all those faults, I hope you enjoyed listening. And I hope you enjoy listening to the next chapter when it comes out. And yeah, that's about it. Not much else to say, so I'm just going to end the video here. And as always, please let me know your thoughts about this war in the comments. And with that, I will see you all in the next video. Bye.